Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Hopefully, everyone has had a good week. I have had a fantastic week. We've been very, very busy here, but busy is good. Well, not as busy as the market, that is. The market has had its ups and it's had its downs, and this is going to be a very, very interesting newsletter. So I hope everyone is ready for that newsletter, which will be hitting everyone's inboxes on Monday. I wanted to quickly start off this session with usually something I end with, but I feel that before we start talking about everything that I want to cover today, I feel that it's great to mention this. Sectors Made Simple, we call you a family because you are. It's not that I sit here and talk to you as a teacher or a student or however you want to see it. It is we are all here together. Everyone is learning, and I am a student as much as I am a teacher to you. I've learned so much from many of you. I've learned new metrics, I've learned new strategies, but most of all, I've learned how you all use the matrix, what information you found useful, what information you want to learn more about, and I just want to share with you that those opinions matter. Every email that I receive, I read. Every single email that gets sent to our support is seen by my eyes or by the eyes of either Kira or Vero, someone that is very involved in the process. We don't have customer service agents. We only have the Sectors Made Simple family. So your voice matters. I want to continue hearing from you all what you would love to learn more about and how we can give you the most information we can in the easiest way to understand. So really quickly before I get into everything, I want to go through and see who we have with us today. Hello, Gabriel, my mother, Adriana, Kike, Berta, Francia, Jose, Mayra, Iris, Consuelo, Eddie. Long time no see, Eddie. Hopefully you're doing well. Sophia, Andrew. Let's see, any other faces? Rosa, Chela, Claudia, Meli, Miguel, Mari, Eladia, Florita, WC, Edwin Escoto, Pablo, Romulo, Manuel, and Yaniel. Thank you all so much for being here with us. Rina, thank you so much for being here. Many of you I recognize for many, many months at this point. You guys have heard me talk way too much, and you all still come back. So thank you so much for continuing to be a part of everything we're working on here. Because Sectors Made Simple was the start of a company, but it was not the start of an idea. So what I want to share with you all today is why Sectors Made Simple became a thing. It wasn't because we had a product idea that we wanted to start selling. It's because we found information that no one else was teaching because we wanted to learn it ourselves. So we felt that if we wanted to learn it, you all would find some use in it as well. So I want to start from the very beginning. I want to start back from when I started working with my mom, not as her son, but as a business partner. 2 years ago, we had an idea of doing something with the market. Nathan, our other partner, and I both were very interested in learning coding. Well, not so much learning coding, but learning how coding could be used to advance our financial decision making. Where instead of just saying, oh, I think the market's going to do this, try and create a program to tell us what the market would be doing next. And very, very quickly we realized that, and this is going to be a common theme for today, if it was so easy that we could accomplish it, it would be done 10 times over and with a lot more processing power. Funny enough, there is an exchange in New York that got their start because they limit how fast you can get information. A common problem on Wall Street is that computers do a lot of trading nowadays. Humans are great, but humans are limited. Whereas robots or machines or machine learning is the big word that everyone likes to use. Machine learning is advanced, but is way faster and way smarter than we are, where it became a matter of milliseconds, hundredths of a second, thousandths of a second faster than your opponent or another firm means that you could be making millions. So real estate around Wall Street got very, very, very expensive because everyone wanted to get closer and closer and closer to the exchange. So we can't really compete with them. We're in Los Angeles and we don't have millions of dollars to throw at a machine learning program. But what we do have is our knowledge, and we have Be a Profit. So that's where we started. We started with the idea of how can we make Be a Profit better? And I'll tell you this because this is the end of the story, and that story ended very quickly, which is Be a Profit is excellent. What worked 2 years ago or 20 years ago and what my mom created still works today and is a fantastic way of picking very, very strong stocks in any sort of market. Because fundamentals are simply that. They're fundamentals of economics. They don't change. Just like the economic cycle doesn't change, just like the market cycle doesn't change, fundamentals still matter. And a good company is still a good company in today's market, just like they were 50 years ago or 20 years ago. So we learned that Be a Profit works. So what's the next step? Because Be a Profit, the reason it's good is it takes all of these stocks that we have. Imagine that we have 5,000 stocks, and it gives us maybe 20 or 30 stocks. Those 20 or 30 stocks we know have value because they are very, very strong companies. And it makes our job easier because instead of looking at 5,000, we look at 20 or 30 to find their buy signals. Before I go too much further, I see Veronica has a question about MACD. I would recommend, if you are a member of Sectors Made Simple, I did a class on MACD and other technical indicators as well as oscillators on Tuesday in our members webinar. You can find that video on the webinars page if you log in with a Sectors Made Simple subscription account. But Be a Profit was the proof that what used to work still works. So it wasn't until my mom I don't know if she meant to leave it on the coffee table or if it just happened to be there, but I was on vacation with my mom and Nate and some other friends, and there was a paper on sector rotation. And I started reading it, and I thought it was amazing. First off, I love numbers. I try and not bore people with numbers because I understand not everyone is as enthused with math as I am, but the numbers didn't lie. That sector rotation is a style of trading that was profitable, and still is to a certain extent, but B is easy because what Be a Profit did and the true value of Be a Profit is the ability to take all of these stocks and narrow it down to only what you need to know, what matters, and focus on those so you can spend more time figuring out your buy price and the buy signal for those different stocks instead of having to search to find the companies that may be worth it in the first place. Sector rotation did something different. Sector rotation, instead of looking at companies within the market, it looked at market segments or sectors within the market, such as technology, discretionary, which is your kind of more luxury goods or the goods that you don't buy every day. Staples, which is the opposite of discretionary, things that you would need every day. You can't really do without them. They're your needs, not your wants. Everything from energy to utilities to real estate, all of these are different market sectors. And when you put them together, it gives you a very good idea of the entire market, where instead of looking at 5,000, instead of looking at maybe the 25 best companies that we've already picked out, what if we just looked at the entire market, but instead of 5,000, or I guess 500 in the case of the S&P 500, what if we looked at 11? So that is what sector rotation does. It looks at 11 11 is how stock charts looks at it. But it looks at different market sectors and makes your choices easy, where now you're only looking at about a dozen or so sectors that still makes up the entire market. So It's the entire pie, not just a slice of the pie. It's the entire pie, but in a much easier to digest way. And that's what was interesting to me, because we don't need to try and pick one or two winners in a field of 5,000. We need to try and pick one or two winners in a field of 12. And that is where Meb Faber's paper came to be. Meb Faber wrote an article that was kind of the start of everything for us, which was the idea of trading sectors, where instead of it being a decision that you have to make, you need to be the one to choose, it made it simple, because it took the thinking and the guessing out of it. It said you follow these rules. When the S&P 500 is above its 10-month moving average, remember we talked about moving average on Tuesday, it is the average price from the past 10 months in this case, where as we get a new day, the oldest day gets pushed off. So it's 10 months from that date. If the current price is above that, then you buy. What do you buy? You buy the best performing sector, which was defined as what sector has made the biggest price difference in the past 2 weeks. So you buy that sector. You buy that one sector. And then you wait for 2 weeks. Doesn't matter if it rains, it's dry, it doesn't matter what happens in those 2 weeks, you don't touch your investments. But 2 weeks later, you go back and you listen again. And you go and you see what it says, where it may tell you to keep the same sector. It may tell you to sell that sector. But the beauty of all of this was that it was simple, just like Be a Profit. It was very, very simple, but it worked. Meb Faber showed that from 50 years ago to 2015, when his article was published, that his strategy outperformed the S&P 500 more often than not. So over 70% of the time is what his article says. His strategy outperformed the S&P 500, which, 70% of the time beating out the market is pretty good. So it made us interested. But we didn't just settle for following what he said. We wanted to test, A, if it still worked, and then B, can we make it better? Or can we even make it easier? So that was the start of everything. It was first, does it still work? And the first thing that we noticed was when we started testing, we did exactly what Meb Faber said. We created una cuenta de mentiritas, a fake money portfolio that went back 50 years. Or rather, we went back to 1990 and said, if I started then and I invested up to now, how would I do? Because Meb Faber, his article covered from the 1950s up to 2015. There's one major thing in this world. Many things have changed in the past 50 years. I mean, I exist, for one. But something that has definitely changed in the world of investments is computers. Computers have become not just a resource, but oftentimes a better trader than we are. The computer will be able to process a lot more information, a lot quicker, and a lot more accurately. Computers don't really make mistakes. The only reason they will make a mistake is because we told it that mistake. So, or when they decide to crash, like Kira's computer seems to want to do recently. It's okay, we love it, we're still going to work with it, but computers really are the newest and best thing that has happened to investments. But it's also been the death of some styles of investing, where more technical methods, such as sector rotation, this idea of buying when the price is above this 10-month simple moving average, the ability to go back and look at 50 years of trading and find that that strategy outperforms the rest of strategies, it's not as simple. because now the computers can do that too. But they do it better, faster, and cheaper. Yeah, Cleo is hanging out behind me. But But the biggest thing is that as technology got better and better, the value of this very, very simple to follow rule started to lose its value, where it wasn't as easy as just buy when the 10-month is lower than the market, or rather when the market's beating the 10-month, and buy the best return sector over the past 2 weeks. Because as that piece of information, A, became known by more people, and B, became easier to test not just that, but other options around it, it started to lose its value, or it started to lose its edge. So what happened from there? Because did Meb Faber lie in 2015? Was his strategy not better than the market? Yes and no. No, he did not lie. That article is still an incredible resource when it comes to sector rotation and how it can be used and how it can be made simple. But the value of that simple strategy, the very simple to follow strategy, has lost its value. Where up to 2015, yes, it outperformed the market. And the main reason it did is it told you what bad markets to avoid. It had you not trading in 2008 when the market went down, and it had you not trading in 2018 when the market had a bit of a dip. So the biggest advantage of it was it told you when not to invest. But how did it do in a good market? Where up until late 2019, we were in a very, very good market. Things were doing good, and in order to be beating the market, you didn't need to just do good, you needed to do great. So how did that very simple strategy that Meb Faber did, how did that work? And that's what we tested. And we found that yes, 70% of the time, up to 2015, that strategy outperformed the S&P. But after 2015, it didn't do so well. Where the biggest advantage of that strategy was telling you if you should invest at all, instead of, maybe try some things here or there. No, it made it very simple to say, do not trade, hold cash. And that's the real value of that strategy. But there's some, not so much explicit, but a little bit more implied value of this idea of sector rotation. And that's what got us thinking. This simple strategy that Meb Faber came up with doesn't work as much anymore. It doesn't outperform the S&P 70% of the time like it used to. But the idea of taking the market and making it very, very simple to understand, giving it maybe 12 different stocks or 12 different things to look at, that was appealing. We liked that idea. So we decided, what can we do with it? And that's where the matrix came to be. We did not create the matrix because it was something that we felt like we could sell. We made the matrix because it was the answer to our question. How can we make sector rotation simple? How can we do what Meb Faber accomplished of creating this very simple to follow rule and do that in a way that still works today? And that's where the matrix came from. It was our way of finding leaders, not in just who has the best returns over 2 weeks, but of comparing every single sector to every other sector every single day. So you don't just find who was the leader from 2 weeks ago to today, you find who is the leader today, but also who has been catching up and who has been falling behind. That is where the matrix came from. It was our answer to the question, how can we make a strategy that is very simple to follow, easy to understand, and works? And our first strategy that we tested, you all can see it on our website. On our website, we have our 2-week case study, which was how, if we want to use Meb Faber's idea of you only trade once every 2 weeks, what is the best we can do? Well, the 2-week strategy speaks for itself. We managed to outperform the S&P 500 65% of the time, with an average return of 11% per month over the S&P 500. So it did pretty good. But this was a strategy that used the past 5 years worth of information. So that strategy may have changed over that 5 years. And that is where all of this information that I share with you all has come from. Where I don't just tell you the one way to invest, because that's how a robot trades. That is how a machine does it. But a machine can only look at how things have done. We all are smart enough to look at what's happening now and use that information, where we can look at the matrix and have a good kind of basis. We can look at that 2-week case study and say, you know what, that worked, and use that as the starting point for creating our own strategy, making it ours, because we are humans, we're not robots. Where we don't have to just trade every 2 weeks. I can trade tomorrow if I wanted, or I can trade 3 weeks from now. So our strategy can change as our investments can dictate. So the matrix we came up with as our way of finding useful information, doing sector rotation, finding leading sectors, but not in any sort of time frame, immediately today. So the first version of the matrix was just that. It was just the matrix. It was who is our leading sector and why. There was no momentum. There was no previous matrix. It was just, here's today's matrix. And we immediately realized that while it's important to know who the leader is today, it's also important who was the leader yesterday. Because as we've seen right now with the matrix, we're having rapid changes in a day or two, where we'll have a leader appear and then immediately fall off the next day. We don't want to find that little success story for that one day, because, you know, that success was yesterday's, not today's. So the first thing we wanted to do was create a way to compare today's matrix to the previous one. Enter momentum. Momentum was our answer to how do we tell who is leading, who is losing, but who's gaining ground and who's falling behind. And at that point, we came up with this idea. Create this dashboard, create these matrices that we can then share. We don't tell you how to use it, we show you how it can be used, but we teach you why it's used, why it's important. And saving you time is all that we try and do there. Because, and I've done this in one of the free webinars, it's called Making the Matrix. If you want, you can take a look at our YouTube channel. We do have that video posted, where I go through and I create a matrix with 5 different stocks. Creating that 5x5 matrix took 1 hour. If I wanted to actually go in and do it myself, it would maybe take a little bit less than an hour if I was doing it for my own investments, but it would still take 30 minutes or so. And that's for 20 comparisons. That's for 20 relative strength charts. The matrix every single day does 132 relative strength charts. So if you wanted to do the math there, that would take about 2.5 hours. So we don't do something that we don't sell the product because we say, oh, we can do this and you can't. No, we give you the power and the knowledge to make a matrix yourself. But the matrix, sectors made simple, is not sectors made exclusive. It's sectors made simple because it saves you time. It gives you the information so you don't have to do it yourself. So that was when we had the matrix, a previous matrix, and the comparison between the two. How is the current matrix changed from the previous one? Then we wanted to get your thoughts, because that was what we wanted. This was the information that we wanted to have to make sector rotation easier. But it wasn't the end, it was only the beginning. So the first thing that we did was we brought in some investors that we knew their stuff, because we wanted to see how they would use the matrix as not the end of their investment decision, but as the start of their investment strategy. So that's where we brought in some of the names that you should be very familiar with by this point: Vero, Berta, Mayra Gonzalez, and Joe Sedeno. We brought them in as people that we knew had the information to know how to invest, but could take that information and create a strategy out of it. And then we gave it to them. We gave the basics of here's what sector rotation is. They already knew the basics of point and figure, but we said, go, use it. Figure out how you want to use it. And then we watched and we learned from them. And this was where the idea of Sectors Made Simple family came from. Because the first thing that I learned is that the matrix is only one piece of a much bigger puzzle. That's why we don't just say, here's the matrix. Ta-da! It's the beginning of our whole story. This is step 1. Now what's your step 2? And how can we make that step 2 easier? So we asked them, how do you use the matrix? The first answer that we got was, well, the matrix is really useful because it tells you who the leaders are, but it doesn't tell you how those sectors are doing on their own. So immediately we said, okay, we can do that. Instead of you having to go to, say, stock charts to go look at the prices for every sector, we just put it on the left side of the matrix. So that was step 1, or I guess step 2 if you want to say it like that. But then the real value came in. Vero, Berta, and Mayra every single day worked on a spreadsheet. And this spreadsheet was gold. I won't share too much about it because if you want to learn more about it, Berta talks about the spreadsheet herself in one of our members' webinars, Matrix Made Simpler with Julie Stav and Berta Velita. You can go see that in Spanish and learn how she uses it. But to quickly explain the basics of it in English, they took the matrix and then used that as one piece of information in addition to the prices of the sectors, but also their bullish percent indexes. The idea of how many companies within those sectors are on a buy signal and are on a sell signal. Because that will tell you the risk of that market. It will tell you what markets already have or are overbought, which means there's not much opportunity for new companies to go on buy signals, or it's the sectors that are going down but have a lot of room for growth. So BPI became our risk. So we knew who were the leaders and how much risk there was in that market. But we asked them, how much time does it take you to do this? They said about an hour or so. So we said, great, let's make that simpler. Let's take away that 1 hour that you need to go find all of these BPIs, find if they're in a column of X's, find if they're in a column of O's, find what their percentages are. So we added bullish percent to the matrix. And that was when we said, you know what? Here is the whole story. You find your leaders, who is your leader right now, who is gaining strength, who is who are the laggards right now, or who are losing strength. And that was the start of everything. Eddie, I actually can get you that spreadsheet. I just, again, want to check with Berta that they're okay with me sharing it. But if you send me an email at support@sectorsmadesimple.com, I will get back to you about it there. So we tried to save them time by putting BPI into the matrix. We asked them, how many pages do you have to go to? How many web pages do you need to look at to get the information? They were like 4 or 5. Okay, let's do it in one. Where you no longer have to go through those 4 or 5 pages and put down all the information in a spreadsheet. It's just done for you. And that was when we said, we're happy with this. This saves people time. How can it save you time? And we gave it to more members. We gave it to Meli, who is incredible because she was our first spokesperson for the Matrix, where she was an expert in trading. She is an expert in trading. But I learned from her the real value of Sectors Made Simple because the Matrix saved her hours. It made the decisions easier, faster, and simpler, where she got the answers she needed without having to look through as many websites, and she got to spend more time figuring out, okay, here's the leading sector. Let's not stop there. Let's now find the leading companies in the leading sector, and used all of the information on the matrix, our leaders, the momentum, and BPI as step 1. So that's when we brought it to you all. That is when Sectors Made Simple went live, when people began to be able to start buying the matrix and started to learn alongside us how the matrix can be used to make investing simpler. And we have learned a lot because I've continued to use the matrix and learn how the matrix can teach me a lot about the market, where I always knew about the economic cycle. I knew about the market cycle. I studied it in college, but it's another thing to see it, and it's another thing to live it, where you don't really see that happening when you just look at the market. You see companies go up and down. You see red down signals and green uptrends, but you don't really see it live. You don't live it. The sectors show you that. Where we followed over the past 2 months or so, when volatility started to go down in August, we saw immediately our sectors that were leaders were who we expected to be leaders in a recovering market. So it didn't just start showing us investment decisions. It started giving us information about the entire market. We started to figure out that the economic cycle lives, and we can see it living and breathing as we had previous sectors such as technology, communications, and discretionary performing very well. As those sectors have started to lose strength over the past few weeks, we started to see other sectors such as industrials and materials take off. And then, as the economic cycle would predict, we do not know this is certain, but if the economic cycle holds true, the next sector that we could expect to do well is, well, I guess I shared it. I was going to kind of leave it on a cliffhanger, but I'll share it with you all because it was in last week's newsletter, energy. The economic cycle would predict energy to be the next leading sector. So it gives us an idea of what to be looking for, where the opportunities may be, not because a computer told us so, but because computers have been around for the past 20 or 30 years as a key part of investment strategies. But economics, for example, the candlestick model dates back 300, 400 years to rice sales in Japan. That's why they're called Japanese candlesticks. This idea of trading things or buying into a company when it's young, or when you think the company's going to do well, that's not something that has started with the United States. That's something that's been around for centuries. So economic cycles have always been a thing. So we're following that now. And we're doing it by looking at the matrix, where the matrix is teaching us how we can watch those cycles happen. Now, the cycle may happen very, very quickly because of the market we're in, and a good indicator of that is volatility. Higher volatility means that the market cycle will happen a lot faster. But we can see those changes happening, and we can watch those changes over time, where I've watched the matrix from March to now, and it's changed a lot since then. The market has changed a lot since March. So it's been a pleasure to get to see the matrix not only evolve in itself, but how we can use the matrix evolve as well. So that is why we brought Sectors Made Simple to you. Not because we felt like it was something that we could do and you couldn't, but because we could teach you how to do it and give you the power to do it yourself, but then just make access to it simpler and easier to save you time and let you do things like we can do, where we can now say, all right, the economic cycle exists. How can we follow it in the matrix? To learn more about the economic cycle, I did a webinar on it. It was a Members Tuesday webinar in which it was called Cyclicality and Seasonality. The matrix doesn't do something that you can't. It just does it for you so that you get to do more fun stuff like what we get to do here with the economic cycle, or with technical analysis, where the matrix tells you what sector to look at. It gives you that much narrower group and then says, all right, let's now invest with this. So that's why the first thing I taught in the members class was fundamental analysis with Be a Profit over the matrix, where you find a leading sector, and then within that leading sector, you find companies with the strongest fundamentals. A process that would have taken hours before, I taught you how to do in 5 minutes. You look at the matrix, you have your decisions, where it may be that you follow the 2-week strategy rule of an X count of greater than 5, and an a positive trend count of greater than 5, and a X count momentum over 2 weeks of greater than 2. You can start with that, or you can end with that. But then, once you find the leading sector, don't just buy the leading ETF. Look to find the leading companies or the strongest companies with fundamentals that make sense within that sector. And do that all in 5 minutes. So your morning cup of coffee becomes the start of your analysis, the end of the analysis, and the investment purchase decision all in one. All in the time it takes you to have that morning cup of coffee. So I learned from the beta testers what they wanted from the matrix, and we worked with them, with the Sectors Made Simple family, to make it possible, to make it as easy or as simple as we could. So that's where I want to bring this back to you. Because again, I will give you, and I've given so much information to be able to understand not only what the matrix is, but how you can make one yourself by just following our first few free webinars. If you watch those webinars, you can learn all of the basics to know how to make a matrix on your own, and then make a matrix alongside with me. But we'll try and save you time by doing that for you. So then you get to find more interesting questions, such as the reason that we had a technical indicator lesson a couple of classes ago was somebody much like the question that I got today from, let me see who asked it, Veronica, of what is MACD? Well, the reason that you're asking that question, or the reason you can ask that question, is that you don't spend time trying to figure out what is sector rotation. It is, okay, I want to use technical analysis now. I want to continue learning. So what's the next thing I can learn? And that's the real fun of it, and why it's a family, is we get to share this information together and then learn together. Where someone like Veronica asks me, what is MACD? And I say, well, I can give you the answer. I can teach you what it is, but it's not very useful. Knowing what it is doesn't mean much. I would much rather get to go back and see how the matrix can be used with it, and then share with you all, not what it is, but how do you use it? Why does it matter? Why should you care? And that was the goal of Tuesday's webinar, was I shared technical indicators that you could look at so that once you find a leading sector or a leading company, you can then use technical analysis to find other ways of knowing your buy signals instead of just looking at a double top breakout. Point and figure works. We know this. But it's not guaranteed. There is no 100% success strategy. All we can do is get the most information we can in the simplest way we can have it. So again, with where I started all of this, I want to continue learning with you all. I want to learn not only what you know, but learn what you want to know. So please continue sharing with us your questions, because they can be the topics of future webinars, or they can be the future of what we do here at Sectors Made Simple, where it may just be an addition to the matrix. It can be an update to the matrix, such as many of you use the matrix on your phones. So what will be the next update for the matrix? Well, very, very soon here in the coming weeks, we will be submitting applications to both Android as well as the Apple App Store, so that the matrix is not going to be a web page for you to have to go to. It will be an app that you can have on your phone at all times, and will always have the most updated matrix ready for you to use. So that is our next step in making access to this information simpler. But what about the information? How do we make the information easier? Well, learning from you all what you want to hear us talk about is step one. But step two is, and this is something that many of you have asked for, we want to see, how do you use it? ¿Cómo usarlo el matrix? Well, to help you do that, I want to announce the next class series. This is not something that I will be doing. I will be here as the Sectors Made Simple kind of face, but the people that will be doing the teaching will be my mom, as well as her trusted group of investors, in which they will share how they use the matrix to invest and go through using all of that information. I will do my best to teach it, but she'll show you how to use it. So starting in October, we will have a series of classes. They will be once a week, and these classes will show you how you can use the matrix, using the matrix alongside my mom and other investors to make investment decisions, to show you what their strategies are, and show you how that can be used, or how you can turn that into your own strategy. Those classes, to share a little bit more information about them, they will begin in October. They will be available to Sectors Made Simple subscribers, but also if you're not a subscriber, but you want to be a part of the classes, you can do that too. So stay tuned for more information about what those will cost, but I can tell you this, if you are a Sectors Made Simple subscriber, you get the classes for free. So again, if you are already a member of Sectors Made Simple, You will get to be part of those classes for free. It will be part of our promise to you to help make financial investing not only the information, but the education as easy as we can and is in as many ways as we can. And maybe you're not ready to start using the matrix yourself. Maybe you want to learn. I want to see how it's used first. I want to see what strategies it can be used for. Well, the classes will be available for purchase as well, where you don't need to buy a subscription to Sectors Made Simple. You can buy you can buy access to the classes as well, where for those months of those classes, you will get to be a part of those classes and in real time learn how the matrix is used, see the investment decisions that it drives, so you can decide for yourself if sector rotation is something you want to continue with, and if it is, you will have the ability to buy the matrix from there. So that is the next step. That is our way of saying, Sectors Made Simple family, let's continue learning. And let's do that together, live, as my mom would say, opening the kimono, showing those trades, and tracking them over time. So we can see a 1-day strategy, a 1-week strategy, a 1-month strategy. Because not everyone invests the same way. Not everyone has the same level of risk. So we want to show you as many ways as we can, so you can find the ones that make sense for you. It may not be one entire strategy makes the most sense for you, but it'll give you options. And for those of you that don't want options, you just want to see how it's done, see how it can be used, you can follow along with those classes as well, because they will show you how it's used. And again, this is where I bring it back to you all. Our goal with the matrix right now is to bring it to you in an app for both Android as well as iPhone. So you don't need to go through the website, you don't need to go through any hassle. You have the matrix available to you on your phone whenever you want it, and constantly updated every single day. The next step is we want to create a way that you can test strategies. Because for the nerd like me, the reason that we know that a positive trend of greater than 5 and that a X count momentum over 2 weeks of greater than 2 works is that we tested thousands of strategies. But we tested those over the past 5 years, every 2 weeks, because that's how we wanted to compare it to Faber. Remember, all of this started with us reading Faber's paper of I trade every 2 weeks following these simple rules. All right, can we do that? No, we can't. It doesn't work as well anymore. Okay, how do we make it easier, better, and faster? We make the matrix. So then we can test thousands of strategies to see which ones we think made sense and which ones worked every 2 weeks for the past 5 years. But then that's when we give it to you. So the next goal for Sectors Made Simple, in addition to education, is we want to give you the power to test your own strategies. Say, I want to go trade every single day. Okay? Create a strategy for it. Go and find your way of trading where you can say, I want to find any time the X count is greater than 2, I want to buy that sector. How would that work over the past 2 years? Or how did that work over the past 6 months, doing that every day? Our new tool called a backtesting engine will let you test your own strategy, where you can tell us how you want to trade, and you can see how that strategy would have done over the past 5 years, over the past 2 years, or even just over the past month. Make your own strategies. Find your own tests. and get the answers for yourself. That is the next goal. Someone is asking, I need to subscribe for the classes, or do they happen automatically? I will be sending out for Sectors Made Simple subscribers. You will receive a link in an email. That link will allow you to register for the classes. From there, you don't need to do anything else. You will already be included in the class series. If you want to buy the class series, we will be able to have that as well. But for more information on that, we will be having an orientation next Friday, October 2nd, where you can learn more about, well, not hearing it from me, but hearing it from my mom herself. What the classes will teach, how often the classes will be every week, but how long the classes will go, what the price will be for non-subscribers, and then how you can get involved. Many of you have been asking for the Girasoles. Yes, the classes will be in Spanish, as well as we'll have English subtitles. If you need the coupon code because you were part of the Girasoles classes but didn't get it, please send me an email to support, I'll put it in chat, support@sectorsmadesimple.com, and I will get back to you with the coupon code. But for more information about those, stay tuned for next Tuesday, where we'll talk about the pricing, how long the classes will be, what information they'll cover, and how you can make sure that you have your spot reserved. The Girasoles coupon will expire when these classes begin. So if you want to get involved and get in with us at the beginning here, this is your opportunity. Because I've shared with you the journey over the past year and a half of Sectors Made Simple. Our inspiration, where we started, the beginning of the Sectors Made Simple family, as well as what our goals are for the immediate future. But again, this is only the start for us. So join us. Make your voice heard. Tell us what you want to learn about, and we'll do our best to make that information easy, available, and simple to understand. Again, if you are a member of Sectors Made Simple, these classes will be made available to you for no cost. All you need to do is say, hi, let me be part of the classes. That's all you need to do. We'll send out an email with the link so you can do that, as well as you'll hear my face plenty of times saying exactly that. Hey, register here. In the members webinars, the link will be available right in the middle of the webinar, so we'll make it easy. These classes will be recorded. However, for more information about how long they'll be available, stay tuned because my mom will have more about that to share next Tuesday. Erica, I am not a teacher. I try and share the information that I know, but I learn with you all. I feel that I'm never done being a student because there's always something new to learn, and I have fun learning. Learning is fun, so I just try and share with you what I've learned. So I want to see if there's any questions about anything I've talked about today, because I've kind of talked about everything, I feel. So anything about why we got started, more about Meb Faber, I don't care. Anything and everything, feel free to ask now. This is your opportunity to hear from me, my mom, anyone else, what you want to know. Eddie, you're so kind. Thank you. Okay. If there's no questions, then I believe that we can call it for today. Actually, let me show one thing. I want to go here to show you how you can make an account to get involved. So, if we go over to my computer, here, this is our website, sectorsmadesimple.com. When you go here, you can click right here, create a free account, and it will bring you to this sign up page. You put in your email, your information, a password that you want for it, and then sign up. And you will receive an email that you need to click the verification for. And once you've done that, you're done. Your free account's made, and it will give you access to everything that we have for free on Sectors Made Simple, which is many of our articles are available for free. Well, I'm not logged in right now, but if I was, our articles are available for free, as well as our webinars. You can see not only the link to join the next webinar, which this one would take you to the session we're in right now, but you can watch the last webinar, as well as every single free webinar we've ever given for Sectors Made Simple, all the way back to our first introduction class on July 3rd. So say you've made your account. Hey, this is cool. I like what you guys are doing. I want to buy it. So you go up here to subscribe. And when you click on subscribe, give me a moment, let me log in so you can see what that would look like. Hang tight. You'll see something like this. So if you go to the home page, you can see subscribe. And then right here, click sign up now. Of course, I can't buy it. I already have a subscription. Well, I hope I'd have a subscription by this point. But that's all it takes. You go to sign up now. If you have your Girasoles coupon, that's where you would enter it. And then you're involved. You're stuck with us for a little while. So make sure that you're not only a part of these classes, but you make the most out of them by telling us what you want to learn. Because we're here to listen as much as we are here to talk. So we'll continue listening to you all, learning how you want to use the matrix and how we can make the information as simple and as easy as we can. Martin is asking, why do we have SPY as a sector or as part of the matrix? The reason for that is SPY is not a matrix, but it is the S&P 500, where all of the ETFs that we look at are just that. They are exchange traded funds, all underneath one company called SPDR, SPDR. So we look at 11 different market sectors, which are all of the XL somethings, but then we want to compare it to the market. So in order to compare it to a market that you would be able to actually go out and buy, because what if the best thing to invest in right now is the market itself? You can actually go out and buy and sell shares of SPY. So that's why we use SPY, is it is our S&P 500 market that you could actually go and buy and sell, but also it is under the same umbrella or the same management as all of the other ETFs that the matrix looks at. This class will be available to watch later, just as all of our free webinars are. And then Be a Profit will all be in one place, or do we still need to run other websites? There's all but two pieces of information on, you can get all but two pieces of information on FinViz. The first members webinar that we have is on fundamental analysis and how you can make a fundamental analysis screener in FinViz. So visit that webinar to learn more about not only what Be a Profit is, but also how you can do it in FinViz and make it simple, and how you can use the matrix alongside it. Los clases de mi madre van a estar en español y vamos a tener subtítulos en inglés también por personas como yo. Thank you so much, Adelita. So that is about all the time we have for today. But again, please keep in contact because I enjoy getting to talk with you all about your successes, what you've learned from using the matrix, what you've learned from following these webinars, and how we can teach you what you want to know. Because we'll always be here to continue learning alongside you. Become part of the family. I hope that everyone here is part of the Sectors Made Simple family, because I learn from you all every single week what you want to hear, what makes sense to you, and what we do that makes investing simpler. So please keep in contact. Our email is support@sectorsmadesimple.com. We are there for any feedback you have, questions that you want to hear answered, or ideas that you want to see implemented. We are part of the family alongside you all, so thank you all for joining us today and in all of the webinars. And we'll see you all on Tuesday in the members webinar, and next Friday at the orientation for the upcoming classes that my mom will be having, where it's not what is the matrix, it's how do you use the matrix to make some cold hard cash. So until then, thank you all very much, and we'll see you all very soon. Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend.